Hello. Let's take a look at DOL, Daily Oral Language, sentence number 23. Allow me to post it on your screen. There it is. Let's take a look at this. Okay, it says, this car, a classic 1966 Thunderbird, are now worth more than a new one, irregardless of what your mechanic said. While you're copying that down, I'm going to read it again. This car, a classic 1966 Thunderbird, are now worth more than a new one, irregardless of what your mechanic said. Okay, first things first. There's a word in here that I told you, one of our previous sentences, that is just not a word, even though you're going to hear people using it left and right. And hopefully you will start to hear them say that. And if it's anybody in your family or that you know real well, pull them to the side and nicely tell them that's not a word. And then have them think about it or even look it up if you have to. Little side note, I actually had to do that with my sister about 10 years ago. She kept saying to me, Andy, irregardless of that, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, I just want to let you know, irregardless isn't a word. And she got angry and hung up on me. And then about 10 minutes later, she called me back and said, I looked it up. I realized it. Thank you. You were trying to help me. So I'm telling you right now, irregardless is not a word. So I get rid of the letters IR and make it just regardless. However, look at regardless. It's missing a letter. What is it? Absolutely, it's missing a second S. So let's have that down. Now, I'm going to read this again, and you're going to notice there are 3 pauses in this sentence. How do we denote pauses in a sentence? Correct. We put commas for pauses. So listen to where they go. This car, a classic 1966 Thunderbird, are now worth more than a new one, regardless of what your mechanic said. So where do those pauses go? First one, after car. Second one, after Thunderbird. And third one, after one. Fantastic, everybody. Really fantastic. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let's capitalize this. What word needs to be decapitalized in this sentence? Clearly, it's classic. That should just be a lowercase c. Excellent. Let's fix classic because it's double S. Excellent. Thunderbird should be capitalized, correct, because it's the title or the name of a brand of a car that they used to make. They don't make them anymore, I don't think, but maybe they do. Who knows? I'm not really a big car guy. I'm a grammar guy. But look at Thunderbird. What's wrong with it? Correct. It's ER. I know it sounds like an I. Thunderbird could be interpreted as an I. But remember, English doesn't always spell the way it sounds, so you have to know the words and you have to remember them. And that comes with practice, everybody. Let's continue. This car, a classic 1966 Thunderbird, are now worth, wait a minute, time out. What are we talking about in this sentence? What's the subject? It's a car. How do we put that into a pronoun? He, she, or it? Clearly, it's going to be, unless it's a transformer, it's going to be an it. Can I say it are? No. It is. So let's get that down. It is now worth more than a new one. Take a look at worth. What's wrong with that? I understand it sounds like a U, but we all know it's an O. Excellent. More than a new one. Take a look at then. What's wrong with then? Remember the word then, THEN, is always about time order. First, you get your ingredients, then you prepare them, then you cook them, then you eat them. Then you throw away whatever's left over or when you're done. That's how we do the word then, THEN. But when I'm comparing one thing to another, I always use than, which is THAN. So it's now worth more than a new one. Excellent. Take a look at one. What's wrong with it? I've told you this already many times. One gets spelled out because it's under 101. Remember, all words under 101 get spelled out, regardless of what your mechanic said. A lot of people at this time in class would say, Mr. Kenny, put an apostrophe in your. And I would say, where? And they would say between the U and the R. And I would say, why would I do that? And they say, well, whenever you have a RE at the end of you, you always need the apostrophe. And that's when I say, okay, read out the sentence with both words. And they say, okay, this car, classic 1966 Thunderbird, is now worth more than a new one, regardless of what your mechanic said. And they go, oh, you don't put an apostrophe because you're not saying you are, you're saying your. So I get rid of the E. Everybody see that? Let's take a look at mechanic. It's not K, even though it can be said to sound that way. No, it's CH. It's another one of those English times when the word doesn't spell the way it sounds. You just have to know it and you have to remember it. And finally, let's pop a period at the end of the sentence and let's take a look at the bottom. Did we get everything correct? Let us see. This car, comma, a classic 1966 Thunderbird, comma, is now worth more than a new one, comma, regardless of what your mechanic said. Looks like we got everything there. Our pauses are in there. Our words are spelled correctly. We decapitalize classic. We capitalize Thunderbird. We got rid of the IR on regardless. We added an S to it. We fixed mechanic, and we got rid of that E on UR since it's not UR. We fixed worth, and we spelled out one. Excellent job, everybody. Thank you very much.